They thought humanity would stay silent. Until the Vengeance warship arrived. Part 1, the message came at 300 Earth Standard Time. Commander Jack Collins was deep in sleep when the sharp buzz of his communication device jolted him awake. He fumbled in the darkness, his hand finding the small tablet on his nightstand. "Collins here," he said, his voice still rough with sleep. "Commander, this is Control. You need to report to Admiral Wells immediately." Jack sat up, fully alert now. Immediate summons in the middle of the night never brought good news. "On my way." 20 minutes later, Jack stood in the dimly lit Situation Room at Earth Space Command headquarters. Admiral Diane Wells didn't look up from the holographic display when he entered. Her face, illuminated by the blue glow of the projection, was grim. "Horizon Colony has gone silent," she said without preamble. Jack felt his stomach drop. Horizon was one of humanity's most successful off-world colonies, home to over 5,000 people. It was also where his friend Dr. Lisa Grant was stationed with her family. "When?" he asked. 4 hours ago. We lost all communication suddenly. No distress signal, no warning." Jack studied the display. Horizon Colony orbited a planet in the Tau Ceti system, a 12-day journey at maximum speed. "What do we know?" "Nothing. Concrete. But the long-range sensors picked up unusual energy signatures right before communications went dark. Nothing matching any known human technology." The implication hung heavy in the air. In the century since humans had ventured beyond their solar system, they had found no evidence of intelligent alien life. There were theories, of course, rumors of shadowy observations, but no confirmed contact. "I need you on the USS Vigilant," Admiral Wells said. "It's prepped and ready to launch in 2 hours. You'll lead the investigation team." "Yes, Admiral." "Jack." She finally looked up at him. "Be prepared for anything." The Vigilant made the journey to Tau Ceti in just under 11 days, pushing its engines beyond recommended limits. Jack spent the time reviewing what little data they had and preparing his team for every possible scenario they might encounter. But nothing could have prepared them for what they found. Where Horizon Colony once stood, there was now only a smoking crater. The biodomes were shattered. The central hub was a twisted mass of metal. The agricultural zones were burned black. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Kelly Patel, the Vigilance science officer. "There's nothing left." Jack stared at the devastation through the view screen. "Scan for life signs." "Already did, sir. There's no one. 5,000 people. Gone. Any sign of the attackers?" "No, sir. Whatever did this is long gone." Jack ordered a team to suit up. They needed to go down to the surface. They needed evidence. They needed to understand. The search team moved through the ruins like ghosts. The destruction was complete, methodical. This wasn't an accident or a natural disaster. This was deliberate. "Commander, over here." Jack moved carefully through the debris toward Sergeant Ben Miller, who was kneeling beside what remained of the colony's communication center. "What did you find?" Miller held up a small data core. "It's damaged but might be salvageable. Looks like part of the security system." It was their first piece of luck. Jack handled the core carefully as they brought it back to the Vigilant. Their ship's tech specialists worked for hours to extract whatever data remained. Finally, they called Jack to the lab. "We recovered a partial recording, sir. You should see it for yourself." The footage was grainy and broken. It showed the colony from an external security camera, normal operations, people moving between buildings. Then, shadows fell across the landscape. The camera tilted up to show massive ships, unlike anything humans had ever built, descending from the sky. There was no warning, no attempt at communication. The ships simply opened fire. The recording ended abruptly, but not before capturing clear images of the attackers' vessels. Their design was distinctive, curved, asymmetrical with a greenish metallic sheen. "Run this through all databases," Jack ordered. "I want to know if anyone has ever reported seeing ships like these." The search yielded a result that stunned everyone on board. "Sir, we found a match," reported the communications officer. These ships appear in restricted files from Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Program. They're identified as belonging to something called the Viridian Collective. How is that possible? We've never had contact with alien species. According to these files, we haven't. But it seems Earth governments have been aware of several alien civilizations for decades. The Viridians are flagged as a potentially hostile species, known to be part of something called the Galactic Council. Jack felt a cold rage building inside him. Not only had an alien species attacked a peaceful human colony without provocation, but Earth's own government had withheld critical information that might have prevented the tragedy. "Send all of this to Admiral Wells' priority channel," he ordered, "and set course back to Earth, maximum speed." Before leaving Tau Ceti, Jack ordered one final sweep of the colony ruins. That's when they found her, Dr. Lisa Grant, barely alive in a sealed emergency shelter beneath the medical facility. She was the sole survivor. The ship's doctor worked to stabilize her. When Jack finally saw her, she was conscious but seemed absent, her eyes vacant. "Lisa," he said softly. "It's Jack. You're safe now." Her eyes slowly focused on him. "They're gone," she whispered. "Everyone. My husband. My little girl. They're all gone. We'll get you home," was all he could say. What comfort could he possibly offer? "They never said a word," Lisa continued, her voice hollow. "No demands, no warnings, they just appeared and started firing." Her hands twisted in the sheets. "Why?" "We were researchers. We were peaceful." Jack had no answer for her. During the journey back to Earth, Lisa gradually revealed more details. The attack had been swift and precise. The colony had no defenses. They had never needed them before. When the Vigilant reached Earth, Jack expected immediate action, a declaration of war, preparation for defense, something. Instead, he found hesitation, fear, bureaucracy. "The Viridians are technically advanced beyond our capabilities," Admiral Wells explained during a closed-door meeting. "And the Galactic Council has 12 member species, all more developed than humanity. We're trying diplomatic channels." Diplomatic channels? Jack couldn't believe what he was hearing. They slaughtered 5,000 people without a word. "And they could slaughter billions more if we provoke them," the Admiral countered. "We've sent messages to both the Viridians and the Council. We're waiting for a response." Days passed, then weeks. No response came from either the attackers or the mysterious Galactic Council. Meanwhile, Lisa Grant threw herself into analyzing the attack data, seeking any understanding of the species that had destroyed her family and friends. Jack was reassigned to escort Dr. Grant back and forth between secure facilities. He watched as she transformed from a broken victim to something harder, more focused. Her grief had crystallized into determination. "They think we'll stay silent," she told Jack one evening as they left a research facility. "They think we'll be too afraid to respond. The military is hesitant to engage without more intelligence," Jack explained. "We're outmatched technologically." Lisa stopped walking and turned to face him. "Then we need to change that equation," she said. "And I think I know how." Jack saw something in her eyes then, a dangerous spark of brilliance and vengeance combined. Neither of them knew it yet, but that conversation was the beginning of Project Nemesis, the beginning of humanity's answer to those who thought they would stay silent. They thought humanity would stay silent until the Vengeance warship arrived. Part 2. 6 months passed since the Horizon Colony massacre. In that time, 3 more human outposts had gone silent. Each attack followed the same pattern. No warning, no communication. Complete destruction. The Viridians left no survivors this time. Admiral Diane Wells stood at the window of her office at Earth Space Command headquarters, looking out at the rain falling over the North American Union. Behind her, a group of military and scientific leaders waited in tense silence. "How many dead now?" she asked without turning. "Just over 12,000, replied General Frank Mason. "The Europa Science Station was hit yesterday. 243 researchers and support staff." Admiral Wells finally turned to face the room. And still no response from the One Galactic Council? None, said the diplomat seated near the door. We've sent 16 different communication attempts through every channel we can think of. They're ignoring us, or they've decided we're not worth talking to, added Dr. Lisa Grant. All eyes turned to her. In the month since Horizon, Lisa had changed. Her grief had hardened into something cold and focused. She had cut her long hair short and rarely slept. Instead, she worked obsessively, analyzing every scrap of data from the attacks. Dr. Grant has made a breakthrough, said Jack Collins, now Captain Collins after a recent promotion. Tell them, Lisa. Lisa stood and touched a control panel. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing strange symbols and patterns. I've decoded portions of Viridian communications picked up by our deep space arrays, she said. They're not just random attacks, this is systematic elimination. She touched another control, and the symbols translated to English. This transmission between Viridian ships translates roughly to, continue the cleansing of human colonies as planned. The preventative action is proceeding on schedule. Preventative action? Mason asked. Preventing what? Us, Lisa said simply. I believe they see humanity as a future threat. They're eliminating us before we can become one. And what about the Galactic Council? Wells asked. Based on fragments I've decoded, it appears the Council has a policy of non-interference with the Viridians. They allow these preventative actions as a way to maintain overall galactic stability. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity was being exterminated with the tacit approval of a galactic governing body they hadn't even known existed until recently. We need to strike back, General Mason said finally. Show them we won't go quietly. With what? Admiral Wells challenged. Our best ships are no match for Viridian technology. We've analyzed the attack data. Their weapons systems are at least a century beyond ours. Their shields can withstand anything we throw at them. Not everything, Jack said quietly. All eyes turned to him. Captain Collins has been working with Dr. Grant on a proposal, Admiral Wells explained. It's unorthodox. Jack stepped forward. We call it Project Nemesis. We take our newest exploration vessel, the ESV Pathfinder, and convert it. New weapons, new shields, new purpose. Convert it how? Mason asked. Lisa took over. The Pathfinder has the most advanced propulsion system we've ever built. With modifications, it could outrun any Viridian ship we've observed, and I've been studying Viridian technology from attack debris. I believe we can reverse engineer some of their systems. You want to build a warship? The diplomat said, sounding concerned. That would be a direct violation of our space exploration charter. Our charter didn't anticipate genocide, Jack replied sharply. Admiral Wells raised a hand to calm the tension. The proposal is to create a ship that can reach the Viridian homeworld undetected. Once there, it would demonstrate our capability to strike back, a show of force to bring them to the negotiating table. And if they refuse to negotiate? Asked. Mason. No one answered immediately. Finally, Lisa spoke. Then we show them that humans don't die without a fight. The meeting continued for hours. Arguments were made about ethics, practicality, resources. But as reports came in of another human outpost under attack, this one a mining facility with over 1,000 workers, the debate shifted. 3 days later, the Earth Unified Government voted. Project Nemesis was approved. The Pathfinder was moved to a secret facility on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Work began immediately to transform the exploration vessel into something the galaxy had never seen, a human warship built for vengeance. Jack was appointed captain of the ship, now renamed the ESV Retribution. The irony of turning an exploration vessel named Pathfinder into a warship called Retribution wasn't lost on anyone. Lisa joined as chief science officer, bringing her intimate knowledge of Viridian technology. Together, they began selecting a crew, the best engineers, tacticians, and soldiers humanity had to offer. 1 month into the project, Jack found Lisa alone in her lab late at night. She was studying a holographic model of a Viridian ship, slowly, rotating it with her hand. You should get some sleep, he said. She didn't look away from the model. Did you know Kira wanted to be a pilot? She asked quietly. Jack knew she was talking about her daughter killed at Horizon. No, I didn't. She was only 8, but she was determined, used to make paper spacecraft. Lisa's voice remained steady, but her hand trembled slightly. My husband built her a flight simulator for her birthday. Jack waited, sensing she needed to talk. The Viridians took that future from her, from thousands of others. Lisa finally looked at him, her eyes clear and focused. What we're building here, it's not just about survival or negotiation. It's about justice. Jack nodded slowly. I know. The crew needs to understand that. This isn't a regular mission, it's something more. A reckoning, Jack said softly. Lisa turned back to the hologram. I've identified a weakness in their shield configuration. If we modify our weapons to pulse at this specific frequency. She adjusted the model, showing a point where energy could potentially penetrate the Viridian defenses. Jack watched her work, admiring her brilliance even as he worried about the darkness driving her. They were all walking a dangerous line between justice and vengeance, between necessary force and becoming the monsters they were fighting. 2 months later, the Retribution was taking shape. Its sleek hull now housed weapon systems unlike anything humans had built before. Engineer Alan Reyes had created shields based on Lisa's analysis of Viridian technology. Tactical Officer Samantha Wright was developing battle strategies using limited data on Viridian warfare tactics. The ship was nearly ready when Earth received the worst news yet. The Mars colony, humanity's oldest and largest off-world settlement, had been attacked. 30,000 dead. Among them were Alan's parents and Samantha's brother. Any lingering doubts about their mission vanished that day. The crew of the Retribution no longer saw themselves as just military personnel. They were Avengers. As Jack stood on the bridge of his nearly completed ship, watching his crew work with grim determination, he thought about the Viridians. They had attacked humanity believing they were eliminating a future threat before it could emerge. They were about to discover just how right they had been to fear us. They thought humanity would stay silent until the Vengeance Warship arrived. Part 3. The final preparations for the ESV Retribution took place in a massive underground hangar on Europa. The ship hung suspended in a web of construction equipment, its dark hull absorbing the light. It no longer resembled the exploration vessel it had once been. Now it looked like what it was, a weapon. Captain Jack Collins walked through the corridors of his ship, inspecting each section. The crew of 120 had been training together for weeks, learning systems that had never existed on a human vessel before. He entered the engine room where Chief Engineer Alan Reyes was calibrating the new drive system. How's it coming, Alan? Jack asked. Alan didn't look up from his work. The faster-than-light drive is at 94% efficiency. We've never pushed one this hard before, but the simulations look good. We should be able to travel twice as fast as any other human ship. Will it be enough to outrun Viridian vessels? Alan finally looked up, his face tired but confident. Based on Dr. Grant's data, yes. They're advanced, but their ships are bulky. We're building something different here. Smaller, faster, more agile. Jack nodded. Keep it up. Launch is in 3 days. His next stop was the weapons bay, where Tactical Officer Samantha Wright was running firing drills with her team. They stood before a row of new weapons, unlike anything humans had created before. Captain on deck, someone called out, and the team snapped to attention. At ease, Jack said. Show me what we've got, Sam. Samantha gestured to the nearest weapon mount. These are the quantum torpedoes. They're based on Dr. Grant's analysis of Viridian shield frequencies. They'll phase shift as they approach the target, slipping past shields before detonating. She moved to the next station. Plasma cannons here. Not as powerful as the Viridian versions, but we've modified them to fire in rapid pulses rather than single bursts. Their shields can block one big hit, but multiple smaller hits will cause cascading failures. Jack examined the weapons with a mixture of pride and unease. Humanity had never built weapons with the sole purpose of destroying another intelligent species before. "And what about the main system?" he asked quietly. Samantha's expression grew serious. She led him to a sealed door at the back of the bay. After entering a code, the door slid open to reveal a large device with a pulsing blue core. "The Star Killer," she said. "It's completed and operational." Jack stared at the device. It was technically a last resort, designed never to be used, but its very existence crossed a line. If deployed, it could destabilize a star, causing solar flares that would devastate any planets in the system. "Has the crew been briefed on this?" "Only the senior officers know its full capabilities," Samantha replied. "The official designation is strategic deterrent." Jack nodded slowly. "Let's hope that's all it ever is." His final stop was the science lab, where he found Lisa working alone as usual. Holographic displays surrounded her, showing Viridian ships, weapons, and what appeared to be star charts. "I think I found it," she said without looking up. "Their home system." Jack moved closer. "You're sure?" "As sure as I can be. I've analyzed the trajectories of all known Viridian ship movements. They all originate from or return to this region." She pointed to a cluster of stars on the display. "And there's unusual comm traffic centered around this particular star." Jack studied the location. It was far beyond the reach of any previous human voyage. "How long to get there?" "With our new drive, about 3 months. 3 months to travel farther than any human had gone before, into the heart of enemy territory, with no backup and no way home if things went wrong." The mission had always been high risk, but seeing their destination made it real. "We'll need to avoid detection," Jack said. "Their technology likely includes long-range sensors." Lisa nodded. "I've been working with Alan on a stealth system. We can mask our energy signature if we reroute power through these buffer nodes." She showed him a diagram of the ship with modifications highlighted. "It will reduce our speed, but they shouldn't be able to detect us until we're right on top of them." Jack was once again impressed by her brilliance. In the months since Horizon, Lisa had transformed from a xenobiologist to an expert on alien technology, driven by grief and determination. "You've thought of everything," he said. For the first time, Lisa looked away from her work and directly at him. "Not everything. I don't know what we'll find when we get there. I don't know if they have a homeworld or a fleet or how many of them there are." Her voice remained steady, but Jack could see the tension in her shoulders. "I just know they need to be stopped." "We'll stop them," Jack promised. He hesitated, then added, "Lisa, when this is over—" "Don't," she interrupted. "There's no after for me, not yet. Maybe not ever." Jack nodded, respecting her focus. He had his own ghosts from the attacks. Everyone on the ship did. That shared pain was what united them. 3 days later, the crew assembled in the main hangar. For the launch briefing, they stood in formation, a mix of military personnel and civilian specialists, all volunteers, all with personal connections to the Viridian attacks. Jack stood before them, looking at the faces of the men and women who would follow him into the unknown. "In a few hours we will embark on a mission unlike any in human history," he began. "We go not to explore, not to discover, but to deliver a message. Humanity will not be exterminated without a fight." He paused, looking at each section of his crew. "Some will call what we're doing revenge. Others will call it justice. I call it necessary. The Viridians attacked us without provocation or warning. They've killed thousands of innocent people. The Galactic Council has turned a blind eye to our suffering." The crew remained silent, their expressions determined. "Our mission is clear. Find the Viridian homeworld and demonstrate that humanity is capable of striking back. Force them to the negotiating table, and if they refuse—" He took a deep breath. "Then ensure they never attack another human colony again." In the front row, Lisa watched him with steady eyes. Beside her, Alan and Samantha stood tall, thinking of the family members they had lost on Mars. "We carry with us the hopes of our species and the memory of those we've lost. We may not return, But if we succeed, humanity will have a future among the stars. Jack straightened his shoulders. To your stations. We launch in 2 hours. The crew dispersed to their positions. Jack made his way to the bridge, where his command team was preparing for departure. All systems ready, Captain, reported his first officer. Solar activity report? Jack asked. A solar flare is expected in 90 minutes. It will provide cover for our departure. Jack nodded. Perfect. We'll launch during peak radiation. The flare will mask our energy signature from any observers. As the countdown began, Jack thought about the path that had led him here, from investigating a silent colony to commanding humanity's first warship. It wasn't a role he had ever wanted, but it was one he would fulfill. The Retribution powered up its systems. Below them, Europa's icy surface gleamed in the distant sunlight. Ahead lay deep space, the unknown, and the enemy who thought humanity would stay silent in the face of extinction. They were about to learn how wrong they were. They thought humanity would stay silent until the Vengeance warship arrived. 2 months into their journey, the ESV Retribution moved through the darkness of unexplored space. The ship's systems hummed quietly as the crew settled into their routines. So far, they had encountered no other vessels and no sign that their presence had been detected. Jack sat in his quarters reviewing star charts when the ship's communication system chimed. Captain, to the bridge, came Samantha's voice. We've detected something. When Jack arrived, his bridge crew was gathered around the main sensor display. Lisa was already there, her face tense as she studied the readings. What have we got? Jack asked. Unknown vessel approximately 30,000 kilometers ahead, Samantha reported. It's not moving. Viridian? Lisa shook her head. Design doesn't match, and it appears to be damaged. No energy readings except minimal life support. Jack considered their options. Their mission parameters were clear. Avoid all contact unless necessary, reach the Viridian homeworld undetected. But a damaged ship meant survivors who might need help. Could it be a trap? He asked. Possible, Samantha admitted. But if it were Viridian, we'd expect to see different energy signatures. Jack made his decision. Bring us in closer, but maintain stealth mode. Prepare a boarding team. I want to know who's out here and what happened to them. An hour later, Jack led a team of 6 across to the alien vessel. They moved cautiously through its darkened corridors, weapons ready. The ship's design was strange. Angular where Viridian ships were curved, with transparent sections showing the stars outside. Life signs ahead, reported one of the team members, checking a handheld scanner. Weak, but present. They found the survivors in what appeared to be a control room. 5 alien beings huddled together near a flickering console. They were tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer with a faint blue light. When they saw the humans, they pressed themselves against the wall, clearly terrified. We mean no harm, Jack said, lowering his weapon. He knew they couldn't understand him, but his tone and actions might communicate his intent. One of the aliens stepped forward cautiously. It touched its chest and made a sound. Araxian. Jack mimicked the gesture. Human. Lisa moved forward slowly, taking out a small device she had been developing. This might help, she said. She placed it on the floor between them and activated it. A holographic display appeared, showing simple symbols. Over the next few hours, using Lisa's translation device and a lot of patience, they established basic communication. The aliens, who called themselves Araxians, had been fleeing from Viridian forces when their ship was damaged in an asteroid field. Viridians attack all, said the one who seemed to be their leader. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. Araxian home, destroyed, many cycles ago. Jack looked at Lisa. This was unexpected information. The Viridians hadn't just targeted humans. Why? Lisa asked, using the translation device to convey the question. Why attack? The Araxian made a gesture that seemed like a shrug. Viridians fear all who might grow strong. Galaxy Council allow. Keep peace. Jack felt his anger rising. The Galactic Council hadn't just ignored the attacks on humanity. They had a policy of allowing the Viridians to eliminate any species they deemed threatening. "We can help repair your ship," Jack offered through the translator. The Araxian leader tilted its head. "Why help Araxian?" "Because we share an enemy," Jack replied simply. The decision to help the Araxians extended their journey by 2 weeks, but the information gained was invaluable. As the Retribution's crew worked with the aliens to repair their vessel, they learned more about the Viridians and the Galactic Council. "The Viridians are one of the oldest species in this part of the galaxy," Lisa explained to Jack as they reviewed the new data in her lab. "They maintain their position by eliminating any species that might eventually challenge them. The Council allows it because it prevents large-scale wars. So they're peacekeepers who permit genocide," Jack said bitterly. "Essentially, according to the Araxians, the Council's scientists analyze emerging civilizations. If they predict a species will develop technology that could match or exceed Viridian capabilities within a certain time frame, that species becomes a target. And humanity made the list." Lisa nodded. "Council predictions showed we would surpass Viridian technology within 100 years. That's why they started eliminating our colonies." The Araxians proved to be more than just a source of information. Once their ship was repaired, their leader, whose name translated roughly to Swift Current, offered to guide the Retribution through a dangerous nebula that would shorten their path to Viridian space. "Viridian sensors cannot see through gas clouds," Swift Current explained. "We hide there many times." With the Araxians leading the way, the Retribution navigated through swirling clouds of cosmic dust and gas that would have been nearly impossible to traverse alone. The journey brought the two crews closer together, united by their shared suffering at the hands of the Viridians. During this time, Jack noticed changes in Lisa. She spent hours with the Araxian science officer, learning their language more thoroughly, discussing their culture and history. For the first time since Horizon, she seemed interested in something beyond revenge. One evening, Jack found her in the observation lounge, watching the nebula outside. Colors swirled across the view screen, greens, purples, and blues mixing like oil on water. "It's beautiful," he said, sitting beside her. "It is," she agreed. "The Araxians have a word for this kind of beauty, nevelis. It means that which reminds us we are small." Jack smiled slightly. "That's a good word." "They've lost so much," Lisa said quietly. "Their homeworld, most of their people. Yet they still appreciate beauty. They still help strangers." She turned to look at him. "I'd forgotten there could be goodness out here." Jack saw tears in her eyes for the first time since they'd found her at Horizon. Not tears of grief or rage, but something else. Perhaps hope. "We're not just fighting against something anymore," he said. "We're fighting for something too. For the Araxians, for humanity, for all the species that deserve a chance to exist without fear." Lisa nodded slowly. "I didn't think I could feel anything anymore. After losing my family, I just shut down, focused on the mission. And now," she looked back at the nebula. "Now I remember why we need to succeed. Not just for vengeance, but for a future where this," she gestured to the beauty outside, "can be appreciated by everyone." Their moment of peace was interrupted by the ship's alert system. "Captain, to the bridge," came Samantha's urgent voice. "We've detected Viridian ships." When Jack and Lisa arrived on the bridge, the mood was tense. The view screen showed space beyond the nebula, and there in the distance a small fleet of the now familiar curved ships. "They're attacking something," Samantha reported. "Another colony from the looks of it." Swift Current studied the screen and made a sound of distress. "Kalurian outpost," he said. "Peaceful traders." Jack watched the attack unfolding. It was the same pattern they had seen at Horizon. Sudden, overwhelming force, no warning, no mercy. He faced a decision that would change their mission. They could remain hidden, preserving their stealth advantage for their primary objective. Or they could intervene, revealing their presence but potentially saving lives. Jack looked at his crew, at Lisa, at Samantha, at Alan. In their eyes, he saw the same resolve he felt. Battle stations, he ordered. We're going in. They thought humanity would stay silent until the Vengeance warship arrived, Part 5. The ESV Retribution burst from the nebula like a predator from hiding. For the first time since leaving Earth, the ship's stealth systems were deactivated. All power diverted to weapons and shields. Target the lead Viridian vessel, Jack ordered. Fire quantum torpedoes. The torpedoes streaked across space, bright against the darkness. The Viridian ships, focused on their attack of the Kalurian outpost, had no warning. The torpedoes struck the lead ship, phasing through its shields just as Samantha had predicted. The explosion tore through its hull. Direct hit, Samantha reported, her voice tight with controlled excitement. Their shields didn't stop it. 2. More Viridian ships breaking off from the outpost, reported the sensor officer. They're heading toward us. Jack nodded. They've noticed us now. Prepare plasma cannons. The Viridian ships approached, their weapons charging. They were larger than the Retribution, built for overwhelming force rather than speed. Incoming fire, Samantha warned. The bridge crew braced as energy blasts struck their shields. The ship shuddered but held. Shields at 82%, reported Allen from engineering. Better than expected. Fire plasma cannons, Jack ordered. Continuous. Pulse pattern. The Retribution's new weapons fired, sending rapid bursts of energy at the nearest Viridian ship. The first few pulses were absorbed by its shields, but as more struck in quick succession, the alien defenses began to falter. Soon, pulses were breaking through, hitting the hull directly. It's working, Lisa said, watching the sensor readings. Their shield harmonics can't adjust fast enough to our pulse pattern. The damaged Viridian ship attempted to retreat, but Jack wasn't finished. Target their propulsion systems, he ordered. Disable them. More plasma pulses struck the fleeing ship, destroying its engines. It drifted powerless. The third Viridian vessel, seeing its companions defeated, turned away from the battle and accelerated to faster-than-light speed, disappearing. They're running, Samantha said in disbelief. They're warning others, Lisa corrected. We've just announced our presence to the entire Viridian fleet. Jack knew she was right. Their element of surprise was gone, but they had achieved something important. They had proven that Viridian ships could be defeated. Status of the Kalurian outpost? He asked. Damaged but intact, came the reply. We arrived before they could. Destroy it completely. Jack opened a communication channel to the Araxian ship that had been following them. Swift current. Can you make contact with the Kalurians? Let them know we're friendly. With the Araxians' help, they established communication with the surprised and grateful Kalurians. Like the Araxians, they had suffered repeated Viridian attacks, their numbers dwindling with each assault. You fight Viridians, the Kalurian leader said through the translator. No one fights Viridians. We do, Jack replied simply. And we're heading to their home system to make sure they stop these attacks for good. The Kalurians exchanged looks of astonishment. Then, unexpectedly, their leader made an offer. Kalurians join you. We have 3 ships. Small, but fast. Jack hadn't anticipated this, but he quickly saw the advantage. More ships meant more firepower, and the Kalurians knew this region of space well. Within hours, news of the battle spread. The Retribution received transmissions from other species who had suffered under Viridian attacks. Some offered information, others offered to join their small fleet. By the time they were ready to resume their journey, the Retribution was accompanied by 11 ships from 4 different species, but they also received another, more troubling transmission. This one came on frequencies only Earth ships would recognize, Captain, the communications officer called. It's from the Galactic Council. They're demanding we stand down and return to Earth. Jack had the message played on the main screen. A stern-looking alien appeared, its features vaguely reptilian. Attention, human vessel. This is Counselor Zealand of the Galactic Council. Your unauthorized military action threatens the stability of this region. Return to your home system immediately or face severe consequences. Lisa looked at Jack. They're finally talking to us. After all this time ignoring our messages. Now that we've proven we can fight back, Jack said bitterly. Open a channel. The screen changed to show Jack in his captain's chair. This is Captain Jack Collins of the Earthship Retribution. For months, the Viridians have attacked our colonies without provocation. The Council has ignored our pleas for intervention. The Viridian Collective acts under principles established millennia ago. The counselor replied. Non-interference in their security operations is essential to maintaining peace in the greater galaxy. Peace? Jack's voice rose. You call the slaughter of thousands peace? Regrettable but necessary sacrifices to prevent larger conflicts. Your species was identified as having high potential for rapid development. Preventative action was authorized. Jack felt cold rage building. So you knew. You knew they were killing us, and you approved it. It is the established order, the counselor said, seemingly unmoved. One your actions now threaten. Jack leaned forward. Then perhaps the established order needs to change. We're proceeding to the Viridian home system. We will force them to stop these attacks. You cannot hope to defeat the entire Viridian fleet, the counselor warned. Stand down now, return to your borders, and perhaps terms can be negotiated for your species' continued existence. No, Jack said firmly. No more negotiations where we're not at the table. No more sacrificing some species to appease others. This ends now. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. They're afraid, he said, not just of what we might do to the Viridians, but of what changes we might bring to their system. 3 weeks later, the Retribution and its small allied fleet arrived at the edge of the Viridian home system. It centered around a ringed gas giant with multiple inhabited moons. Orbital platforms and defense stations surrounded the moons like a protective web. There's their fleet, Samantha reported, indicating sensor readings of hundreds of ships in defensive formations. And there's the Council, Lisa added, pointing to a large space station in a neutral position between the system's planets. Looks like they sent representatives to watch. Jack studied the tactical display. Their small fleet was outnumbered at least 20-1. Even with their advanced weapons, those weren't good odds. Captain, Lisa said quietly, I have an alternative to direct battle. She explained her plan. During her work with the Araxians, she had learned more about Viridian biology. They had a unique nervous system that made them formidable fighters, but also gave them a specific vulnerability. I can modify our weapons to emit a frequency that will temporarily paralyze their nervous systems, she explained. It won't kill them, but it will incapacitate them for hours. Jack looked at her with surprise. You're suggesting we disable them rather than destroy them? Lisa nodded. It accomplishes our mission without genocide. We show them we could destroy them but choose not to. That's a stronger message than simply proving we can kill as effectively as they can. Jack considered the option. It was risky. They would need to get close to deploy the modified weapons. But if it worked, they could force a surrender without massive casualties on either side. Do it, he decided. The next few hours were tense as Lisa and Alan modified the ship's systems. Meanwhile, Jack broadcast a message to the Allied fleet, explaining the plan. Some were disappointed. They had come for vengeance, but most agreed it was a better way. As they prepared, the Viridian fleet advanced toward them, clearly intent on eliminating this new threat. At the same time, the Galactic Council sent another message, offering terms if the human ship withdrew immediately. Jack ignored them both. All ships, move to attack formation, he ordered. Begin approach. The battle that followed would later be known as the confrontation at Viridia. The Retribution and its allies charged directly into the heart of the Viridian fleet, taking heavy damage but pressing forward relentlessly. When they reached the optimal position, Lisa activated her modified weapon. A wave of energy pulsed outward from the Retribution, washing over the Viridian ships. Almost immediately, the enemy fire began to falter. Ship after ship went adrift as their crews collapsed, temporarily paralyzed but very much alive. Jack opened a channel to the Viridian command platform. This is Captain Jack Collins of Earth. Your fleet is disabled but not destroyed. This demonstrates our capability and our restraint. We could have chosen annihilation, as you did with our colonies. Instead, we chose differently. There was a long silence before a response came. The Viridian leader, facing the first defeat in their species' modern history, agreed to cease all attacks on human colonies and to meet with representatives from Earth. The Galactic Council, witnessing the outcome, had no choice but to acknowledge humanity as a new power in the galaxy. Their system of allowing Viridian preventative actions could no longer stand. 1 month later, Earth sent its first official delegation to the Galactic Council. Jack, Lisa, and their crew were there, along with representatives from the species, who had joined their fleet. Together, they established new principles for the Council. No more sanctioned genocide, no more sacrifice of developing species, and a mutual defense agreement among all who had suffered under